Good morning, Sri Lanka. It is the 8th of November 2013. We are getting slowly towards the end of 2013. That's a sad part. But we're not going to start any show on Good Morning Sri Lanka here on a sad note, because we rock always. And if you've got mischievous kids at home, well, this is a show that you need to watch throughout, especially this segment. Amaya, good morning.
Good morning to you, Banu. Wow.
Very good morning.
Great way to build up the suspense on the show today. Mischievous children. I'm always envious of parents who really know how to handle their children, because I think it's an art that you don't see often, but there are some parents who have really mastered it. But on that note, we have our child care specialist, our in-house guru, on the show with us again, because it is a Friday, and that means we have Arundhati Sivagurunathan on the show. Good morning, Arundhati.
Good morning. Yeah, welcome back to the show. She's like a presenter now, you know. She's been like there for a lot of days.
Hand.
Exactly. How are you doing, by the way? Is a good morning been great so far?
Every morning is great. Thank you.
Every morning is a new beginning, Amaya, just as our theme says on the show, yeah?
Yes, exactly. A positive note on the show.
All right, Arundhati, first question right on to you. What is discipline, if you could give your own definition?
Okay, when you hear the word discipline, what comes to your mind, Banu?
I wasn't the most disciplined person. I know when I was a kid, I used to be very mischievous. But the first thing that would come to my mind, maybe good manners.
Good manners?
Or maybe like something like self-control.
Yeah.
Where they are able to, you know, not go crazy. Just there's a lot of self-control and responsibility involved.
So many thoughts actually come.
Yeah, when you say discipline, I never thought about it in definitions.
What if we look at it in like more self-improvement, right?
Okay.
Because why I'm saying this, like the word discipline is a Latin word, right? So the meaning is knowledge or building an instruction or a learning method. Right? So rather than trying to use this word discipline, as you say, like it gives a more negative, forceful kind of feeling to your mind, what if we look at it as a technique for self-control or building a child's self-control techniques?
So this self-control is something that is definitely not inbuilt in children when they are born, and it's something that has the parents are then responsible, or the guardians are then responsible for developing in the child. So how important is this in the development of any child?
Well, it's a must, because this is a behavioral pattern and you're teaching the child to take control of yourself. That is self-discipline. So if you don't have self-discipline, you cannot go further beyond that with anything, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then when it comes, there are so many things that parents need to discipline their children on, but as the children get older, Banu, I think sometimes we find that they tend to argue back, and they tend to talk back and ask the parents, why should I do this and why should I do that? So then how do parents really tackle a situation like this? I'm not a parent myself, but I'm sure that parents do find it hard to handle this situation sometimes. So what's the best approach?
The first thing is this is disrespectful speech, right? So the moment you hear disrespectful speech, what happens is the shield or the defense wall of the parents go up, and you generally end up screaming at the child, right? Because this is the way. So what if we handle this in a different manner? Like, for example, say you say something disrespectful to Banu.
Okay. Banu, that green shirt does not bring out your eyes. It is quite the opposite.
Hurt.
Oh, okay.
I'm very hurt. I don't want to do the show anymore.
So it's one of these things that you guys are in you guys are in the adult form, so you all have mastered the technique of self-behavioral patterns, right? So generally what happens is, when a kid does it, right, he becomes very forceful, right? So the best way to handle this is, rather than trying to have a whole emotional tug-of-war with the mother and the child, you need to address the situation more calmly. What if you address the situation calmly, right? I use this technique. I teach the parents a technique called rewind button, rewind mode, fast forward mode, or the pause mode, right? Okay, this is not a DVD player, but this technique, what it means is generally when a child talks back to you, right? The first thing a parent will go into a remind mode. Which I mean is, first they are going to say is, you're always like this is what you always do, right? You remind the entire situation the child has been doing up to now, right? The other mode is the fast forwarding mode, which you do is, okay, you just want to end that situation then and there. So you're like, I'm not going to talk about this, I want you to get dressed, come down, and you're finishing the situation. But the best way to handle is the pause mode. The pause mode is what you're doing is you're gaining control of yourself first.
Okay.
Right? And you calm yourself down enough to speak to the child in a certain way that the child is not going to be scared of your reactions. Right? And one more thing, always keep in mind, always speak to the child the way you want your child to speak to you.
Oh, okay.
So you kind of ensure in a form of way that there's 100% attention, maybe there's a mutual form of understanding, is it?
More than that, more respect based thing, because when you yell, right, when you insult, it happens with arguments, right? You yell, you insult, then another thing you nag. Right? So what happens is the complete focus of the child goes away from what is happening.
But does it work every time? Because I know so many kids are kind of, they respect their elders, yes, although it's kind of going down in the country and in the world, but they do have a slight bit of respect as well along with the fear. And does that correlate or doesn't it occur? What do you think?
See, a fear-driven thing is not necessary, because we are talking about a control behavioral pattern, right? So you always need to keep in mind, when you are dealing with control dealing patterns, you are teaching the child problem solving as well, right? Right? So when you are teaching a child to always with fear or always smacking or giving punishment, this is the exact way the child is going to handle his problems.
I see. So the child really does mirror the parent, and it
always
mirrors the situation at home.
And the parents are the focal point, I should say.
They are the first teachers of your child. Right?
And there are also situations, I think, where, okay, the parent treats the child the same way that they want the child to treat the parent. And I think that's a very important message that we're giving out here on Good Morning Sri Lanka today. But that's the parent of the child. But when it comes to the other adults who are around in the society as well, we find that sometimes children are not very respectful of the other people, strangers, or even people like their teachers, where they have problems adjusting to different situations. So how do you train your child to really have the same respect for everybody and to inculcate that respect for all adults?
So the main things, as I said, you need to focus this on not as a discipline method, but a technique for self-control, a control behavior pattern, right? Okay. So which starts from you, number one, right? So then when the child goes into society, you need to check the child and tell them this is the way you speak properly. You need to tell them this kind of speech is not appropriate. Right? You need to give those lines saying, okay, if you're talking like this, we are not going to have conversation, right? We start the conversation with apology. You need to input those techniques into the child, right? So wherever they go, they know exactly how to behave.
Definitely.
And so this applies to each and every child separately, I know, because there are some kids who are not the usual child that we're talking about here. Some kids are brutal, if I could call it, they expect everything to be,
it looks like he's speaking out of experience here.
Spoiled
a child attacked me one time.
Exactly.